So what an arrival that was. So which is the Spitfire, which is the Hurricane? Have you decided yet? Spitfire on the left, so the Hurricane is a Mark 2C, the Spitfire is a Mark 16, and the Spitfire is being flown by Justin Halliwell, who's the OC Ops at the Battle of Britain Memorial flight. The Hurricane's being flown by Duncan Mason, who is the officer commanding the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, and the captain of the Lancaster is Tim Dunlop. Five Merlin engines flying there in close formation. So a splendid formation of all three aircraft from the flight, not all the aircraft in the flight, but they have another Hurricane and numerous other Spitfires, and one of which is now displaying straight ahead in front of us. There we are, apart from the fact that the wingtips are chopped square in the Mark 6, this version of the Mark 16. You may remember what I said about the silenced twister of the Twister duo, having that same elliptical wing shape as the Spitfire. So what can we say about the Spitfire? It was produced in greater numbers than any other British combat aircraft before or since the war. 20,341 Spitfires were built in 22 different variants, and that all excludes the Royal Navy version, the Seafire, which took the numbers to more than 22,000. The aircraft remained in production for 12 years. The prototype's maiden flight took place in March 1936. Mark I Spitfires entered RAF service in August 1938, and the last frontline operational flight of a Spitfire took place in the Far East in April 1954. So that's a 16-year service record. At the end of its development, the Spitfire carried an engine producing more than twice the power of the original. Its maximum takeoff weight and rate of climb had more than doubled. Its firepower had increased by a factor of 5, and its maximum speed had been increased by a third. All of this in essentially that same airframe designed by R.J. Mitchell at Supermarine, which first flew in 1936. For its role in the Battle of Britain, the Spitfire played a major part in achieving ultimate victory in the Second World War, and truly deserves its place as probably the most successful fighter design ever, and certainly the most famous and charismatic of its time. Memorial flight is based at RAF Coventry. We do have a visitor centre there, so if you're ever in the Lincolnshire area, do pop along to visit. At a weekend, there'll probably be fewer aircraft there than there would be during the week, but it's fantastic having a look at the hangar there, seeing all the aircraft. As you go into the hangar, there's that wonderful smell of all the you can see the during the Battle of Britain, which is really when the Spitfire first achieved fame, it worked very well with the Hurricane. The Spitfire was a more modern aircraft than the Hurricane, and so therefore better matched to take on the German fighters. The the Spitfire perhaps being the more glamorous of the aircraft in the Battle of Britain, the Hurricanes actually shot down more aircraft than Spitfires did. Probably because their role was to take on the slower, less manoeuvrable bomber formations, leaving the Spitfires to take on the fighter cover that was normally provided by Messerschmitt 109s. When the Hurricane entered RAF service, it was the first RAF aircraft in service to have a capability of a speed higher than 300 miles an hour, the first with a fully enclosed cockpit, the first with a fully retractable undercarriage, and the first with 4 machine guns mounted in each wing. So a number of famous firsts. Its first flight was the year before that of the Spitfire, so in 1935. It entered service with the RAF in 1937, the year before any Spitfires entered service, and was a great advance against the fighters that preceded it, those like the Hawker Hind biplane. But it shared a lot of similarities with the previous generation biplanes in that it was a wooden aircraft covered with fabric compared to the alloy engine of the fuselage. The aircraft was ready to go back into action. Whereas a cannon shell strike on the alloy constructed Spitfire would often cause far more damage. Hurricane pilots said it was a very stable gun platform and was beloved by its pilots and ground crews alike. Designed by Hawker's famous designer Sir Sidney Can, who also designed the Hawker Hunter, which we'll be seeing later on today. It's interesting that it's the officer commanding the Battle of Britain Memorial flight flying the Hurricane. You would expect that he would get a choice of which aircraft to fly, so he's chosen the Hurricane and left the Spitfire to his OC Ops, Justin Halliwell. Music of Reach for the Sky reminding us that Douglas Bader was famous for his flying in Hurricanes. As the Hurricane exits to the right with a victory roll, I think. In from the left at low level, we've got the Lancaster, flown by Tim Dudley. One of only 2 airworthy Lancasters in the world, out of more than 7,500 that were produced during the war. And of those 7,500, 3,500 were lost on operations. Normally flying with a crew of 7, more than 50,000 members of Bomber Command lost their lives during the Second World War. And it's always been something that's been highly controversial that the members of Bomber Command didn't get a campaign medal, and until recently didn't even have a memorial. And the memorial that has been erected in London was actually as a result in the main of contributions by former members of Bomber Command. So they had to raise the money themselves. We mustn't forget that up until the invasion of Europe in 1944, Bomber Command was really the only way of striking back at the enemy in Europe. And if you look, you can see that fast bomb bay open up there, taking up almost 2/3 of the length of the aircraft, able to accommodate 22,000 pounds of bombs, so either 22 1,000-pound bombs, or in the latter stages of the war, one single 22,000-pound Grand Slam bomb. These were used to target the concrete reinforced installations at Peenemünde, where the Germans were developing their revenge weapons, the V1 Doodlebug and the V2 rocket, and also to attack the submarine pens all around the North Atlantic coast, with the submarines being used in the Battle of the Atlantic to try to sink the convoys that were keeping Britain going. 1st of March, and of course the Gangbusters that Operation Chastise took place in May 1943. They actually flew with that bomb bay closed because the famous bouncing bomb designed by Sir Barnes Morris was a cylindrical bomb that was actually mounted underneath the fuselage on special supports. There was a pulley system there that spun to get the bomb spinning before it was released from the aircraft, and that meant that it aided its skimming across the water as it was jettisoned, so that it could skim across the water just like a pebble on the sea, hit the dam wall, I'm not swearing there, hit the wall of the dam I should say, sink and then explode and have its concussive effects magnified by the water. To compensate for the extra weight of that bomb, the mid-upper turrets were removed from the Gangbusters aircraft of 617 Squadron. Now in from the left in the landing configuration, undercarriage down, appropriately enough, Tim Dunlop dangling the Dunlops. Closing in on him from the rear, but these are friendlies, so that's very good as the two fighters fly in to formate on the Lancaster to set up for the final flyby. So I said there was only one other airworthy Lancaster, that's based in Canada, but next month it's actually coming across the Atlantic to perform at a limited number of displays in the UK alongside the RAF's own Lancaster, so there will be the opportunity to see two Lancasters together. Unfortunately the Lanc not over here yet, so we couldn't have it here at Sunderland, but if you're interested in seeing them, I know we're going to have them both at Clacton Airshow down in Essex towards the end of August. They're going to be at Bournemouth as well on the weekend only. A number of other displays too. The schedules are online, so do have a look if you fancy experiencing two Lancasters flying together. We had two Dakotas together here today, each with two engines. Imagine four Lancs together.